Hello, in this video I'm going to be going over pH, pOH, H plus concentration, and OH minus concentration, and how to convert between the two. So first of all, we have a nice little pH scale right here. We have more acidic to more basic. A pH of 0 is the most acidic, pH of 14 is the most basic. And if we reverse that looking at pOH, pOH of 0 is the most basic, pOH of 14 is the most acidic. Switching back to the pH scale, what does that mean? It's looking at the concentration of H+. So if you have a high concentration of H+, you're going to have a low pH. A low concentration of H+ means you have a high pH. And it's the inverse is true for the pOH and OH minus concentration. Alright, so there's some equations. They have it on this nice little sheet that we have, but I'm just going to rewrite them. If you want to find the pH, the equation is negative log of the H plus concentration. If you want to find the pOH, it's very similar. It's the negative log of the OH minus concentration. If we want to flip that, like let's say we want to find the H plus concentration, you're going to have to do 10 to the negative pH. Basically the inverse log gives you the H plus concentration. And if you want to find the OH minus concentration, you have to do 10 to the negative pOH. And then the last one is converting pH to pOH. This equation is pH plus pOH equals 14. Value 14 has to do with the kW, or the equilibrium expression for water. Another equation that might come in handy is the H plus concentration times the OH minus concentration equals 1 times 10 to the negative 14. And that would also be a valuable equation to know for the test. Alright, so let's do some example problems here. Put this up here, we'll come back to it. Alright, so number 2 right here, all they give us is the pH is 7. That's the only thing they give us. We want to find the H plus. How do we do that? So we're going to use this equation. H plus equals 10 to the negative pH. Alright, so 10 to the negative pH, so negative 7. Type that in my calculator. If you have a graphing calculator, it's a little easier. You just plug it just the way it looks. But if you have a cheap calculator from Walmart like me, or for some strange reason you need to borrow one of mine because you didn't bring your own, then it's very tricky. You have to do it exactly backwards. So I'm going to type in 7, negative, and then second, the log button's right up there, and I want to do the 10 to the x. And that's my answer, which is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 times 10 to the negative 7 molar. So if you haven't noticed, the pH was 7 and the H plus concentration is 1 times 10 to the negative 7. So a nice trick would be is if your pH is a whole number, really that just becomes the exponent to the negative. However, on the test it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be a decimal pH number most likely, like a 7.2. In that case you have to actually use the equation. So here we go, get that glare out of there. So why don't we try like 7.2 just for fun. We're going to type in 10 to the negative 7.2. So 7.2 negative second log 10. That gives me 6.3 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's not to the negative 7.2. So you need to know how to do the equation. This worksheet's a little basic. That's why we're going to a little bit go to the back. Ones that are a little more challenging. So we have pH of 7. We want to find the pOH. pH plus pOH equals 14. So the equation that we would do is our pH 7 plus POH equals 14, and we're going to subtract from both sides 7, which in this case is 7. So our POH is 7. And then we can find our OH minus. Again, just like we found our H plus, we're going to do 10 to the negative POH. In this case, our H plus, our OH minus is going to be 1 times 10 to the negative 7 molar after we plug in our calculator. And is this acidic, basic, or neutral? It is going to be neutral anytime a substance has a 7 pH. It's likely it's amphoteric and it's neutral. Alright, let's go to the back page. So, on the test, you're going to have something more similar like this, where they give you the concentration of an acid. You know it's an acid because it starts with an H. So, basically it's looking at the H plus concentration. And what you can do is you can take the negative log of the acid concentration, or the H plus, and that's going to give you your pH. A log of H plus equals pH. So if you have a graphing calculator, it's a lot easier. You can just plug it in like it is written. But if you have a cheap one like me, again, you've got to do everything backwards. So I'm going to type in 0.01 log minus, and that's 2. So I have a pH of 2, and I'm done. Doing the second one, it's NaOH. And according to radius, anytime I have an OH, it's a base. So if I have a basic concentration, that's like saying the OH minus concentration. So if I take the negative log of the OH minus, that's going to give me POH. And again, I just do everything backwards. 0.001 log minus is 3. That's my POH. And now, in order to convert pH or POH to pH, I use my pH plus POH equals 14. So my pH plus 3 equals 14, minus 3 from both sides, my pH equals 11. Alright, what happens if, let's do an example right here, get rid of that stuff. Alright, so let's say I have 0.0001 molar of HCl, and I want to figure out what the OH minus concentration is. So this is my H plus. I'm looking for OH minus concentration. There's multiple ways to do this. So we'll do one way first, and then we'll do it the other way. So what I could do is I could take the negative log of my 0.0001, and that's negative log of my H plus. That gives me my pH. Type that in my calculator. 0.1231 log negative, that's 4. I have a pH of 4. So then I'm going to do my pH plus POH equals 14. My pH is 4 plus POH equals 14 minus 4 from both sides. POH equals 10. Now that I have that, I can do 10 to the negative 10 is my OH minus. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 10 to the negative POH. So my OH minus is going to be 1 times 10 to the negative 10. Another way of doing this would be taking my original 0.0001 concentration, multiply it by an X concentration, that equals 1 times 10 to the negative 14. So ultimately I'm going to divide both sides by 0.001, 0.0001, 1e negative 14 divided by 0.1231 gives me 1 times 10 to the negative 10 molar, which is what I found the other way. Either way works. Whatever works best for you is the one I would suggest using. And that's pH conversions.